And I'm recording. All right. So are there questions? Our test is Friday. It will be on interfacing and loops. The first 4 labs are material for the test, the first 4 homeworks. Those to be eligible for full credit, those are due by Friday at 11:59. And but you're allowed to use those things on the test, so it's better to have them done ahead of time. I am grading stuff from, I think I'm on somewhere on Sunday. So I grade my email sort of for the most part chronologically. So as it comes in, I see what you sent me runs and does what it's supposed to do, and usually give you your grade, which is usually 100. But if you sent me something before Friday, I have some people who haven't sent me anything. If you don't have emails from me with pictures of my grade book, then I don't have anything from you. If you have them from me and they're missing pieces, then I didn't get something. And if it's like a lab and it's parts like A, B, and C, and there are letters rather than just the number 100, that means that's what I got from you, and I'm expecting some other pieces from you. So if you sent me something before, say, Sunday at around, I don't know, 5, and you haven't gotten an email from me, then maybe I didn't get it, and you should resend it or something. If you have any questions, I can't guarantee I will grade all the stuff that's been submitted before the test. So if you have questions, make sure that you sort of ask me your question rather than wait for some reply in an email that might not come before the test. Let me get a few things of attendance. Okay. So the test is going to be a programming scenario, no vocab or anything like that, just a programming scenario like some of the labs I've been giving you. You will, I will say, I've given you a number of practice tests already, so you should have a good idea what it's going to be like. It will be 50 minutes, maybe 55 minutes if I'm feeling in a good mood, but not longer. You'll know what it's supposed to do. You will have access to all of the code that you would need to be able to write it. So what's going to happen that's going to make the difference between A, B's, and C's is that you will run out of time. Anything else? Make sure that you don't be too linear. The last thing, sometimes it's get something off the page, do some kind of manipulation, calculation, put something onto the page, and then there's often clearing code. And the clearing code's much easier, say, than the calculating part. So get the clearing part. Put something in the box and clear it out. So make sure you don't necessarily have to do part 8 to do part 12. So make sure you move around, get the easy points, and also comment out code that's not working, but that you want considered for partial credit. And remember that there are points for make the page this color and give me a header and give me a title and all that stuff. So get those easy points. All right. So our current topic of the week is loops. If you have questions about older material, I will take them. If you don't have any questions, we will do a loop example. So are there any questions on old stuff, or should we do loops? Loops. All right. All right, so loops. Okay, so loops are for repeating. So far we've done, we took our old tip calculator and we, instead of asking them what percentage tip they wanted to pay, we gave them a sequence of tips and showed them the calculation for all of those different tips. And then you had a lab where you wrote some HTML entities or where you wrote some sentence over and over again. So now what? So what can we do loop-wise? No, not yet. That's coming, but we need some more for loop examples before we get into a while loop. The while loop is the other type of loop. So if you, when the loop starts, if you know how many times you're going to be in the loop, then we tend to write a for loop. And if you, when the loop starts, if you don't know how often you're going to be in it, then you write a while loop. And we will get to while loops, but not just yet. We need a little more for loop experience. What can we do? Some ideas we can do. We've seen in our game of guess a number to how to get a random number. So we can generate a bunch of random numbers and maybe do some statistics, find their average or standard deviation or something. There's this classic problem of adding numbers from 1 to n, and then let the users say where to begin and where to end, and add up all the numbers in between. We can. There have been times when you put something in a select, you put numbers in a select, say for a tip calculator or something like that. And we have made the options one by one ourselves. We can use a loop to generate a bunch of options in a select.
Can we do an example sentence in an input? Then we crypt that word, like turn that into the binary numbers.
That's binary numbers.
There's a lot of force in that example.
All right, let's try. So we're going to need the idea of a substring to grab the letter out of the word, but we're going to have to loop through the length of the word and go to each position. Let's give it a whirl, unless it's the only one who talks to me, so he gets his way. It is a loop. Okay, so let's say, what do I want? So I'll call it ASCII. I'll probably have to look up how to make an ASCII code. So I'm making a page. There's my page. We'll say ASCII loop. Here is my header. He wants to have the user enter something, so we need a label and a text input. So enter your text, I'll say. And then some input of the type text. Oops, I didn't want that. We need to give that an ID so that we can get the word out of the box. Text, I'll say word. It might be more than a word. Who knows what the user will do. And now that it has an ID, I'm going to come up for my label and give it a 4. The 4 should match the ID. I'm going to have a break. So I have a place for them to enter a word. I have an input for them to enter a word. I am going to have a button for them to click to loop through the letters in the word. If you want a button tag or an input of the button type, button tag. Okay, and I'll say get the ASCII. And I'm going to give it an ID. And doing that with my quotes. Button ASCII, I'll say, okay. I'm going to have an on click. I'm going to call get ASCII, I'll call it. Then what do I need? I need a script. I need a function. I said I'm calling that function get ASCII. Close parenthesis, open, close curly. What am I going? First thing I'm going to do in this function is get the word, get the text entered in the input of the word type. So I'm going to create a variable and get that variable off that page. So I'm going to say let, I'll call it user text equal document get element by ID. I'm getting it from txt word is the ID. And it has a value. I'm going to save. I'm going to close this Explorer. I'm going to right click and format so things line up. I'm going to alert this user text and make sure that I have a working function. I don't like to do too much in my functions before I check. Get something off the page and alert, or maybe just have the function and alert and say hi or something like that. Make sure I didn't forget my on click, make sure I was consistent in my spellings. So I'm opening with the live server. Here's my little page so far. And I'm going to say poop. And I have the word poop. Okay. So far, so good. I have a function. I have a place for the user to enter a word. Let's say the user didn't enter anything. The user entered nothing. Let's yell and get out. So if user text is equal, we're asking a question to quote, an empty string. We will alert, please enter some text. Let's give that text box the focus. Document get element by ID. What was it? Text word. Give the focus, dot focus, open close parenthesis. And then get out. We're going to do other things after this if, but we don't want to do those things if they don't have any words. So I don't have any words. Okay, please enter some text. Puts my cursor in there. And doesn't do anything else, but there wasn't anything else to do at this stage. Okay, so we've got the basic interaction. Okay, now I need a place to put this information. So I got to go back up to my HTML, and I need to make some kind of container to put the stuff. What kind of container do we want? He wants a div, and he said it the fastest, so he wins. All right, so it's a div. And then we want to code this div, so we must give it an ID. And I'm going to call it div, I don't know, result. That's always a good one. Okay, so I'm going to analyze this word and show the ASCII code for the letters, which I'm probably going to have to Google. But first I'm going to get the letters, then we'll worry about the ASCII code for the letters. We can have this as just empty, or we could put like dash, dash, dash in it to say something's coming, but it's not there yet. So that depends on how you, as a interface designer, what you want to see. Do you want the box completely empty? Do you want to have something that you put in the box to say there's something coming, but there's nothing there right now? All right. Now let me show you an idea that I've been talking about. And that is on the test Friday, you have trouble doing sort of the analysis part, but you want the easy points. And so you want the clear points. So I'll put something in the box. Of course, what will I put? I'll put poop in the box. And then I will, within my, if they change their word, I want to clear it out. And so I need, what is the event that we're going to work with? Say again?
Function clear out.
I'm going to make a function clear out, and what calls clear out? On input. The text, the on input of the text. So here's the text input. The on input is the good event to use with that. And he said, call a function called clear out. So we're going to make a function called clear out. So again, I was up here for me in 14. I added an on input equals quote, some name of a function with parentheses. Then I'm going to come down here and declare that function. Function clear out. And what are we going to do? We are going to take what was ever in the div and clear it out. And clear out could mean make it empty, or clear out could mean put dash, dash, dash in it. But the ID of the div is div result. So then I'm going to come down here, document, get element by ID, div result. What property do we like of a div? Inner HTML, got to keep your values in your inner HTML separate. You're allowed to bring things to this test. You can have your code, but you can also have an index card that says, here are the things that have values, and here are the things that have inner HTMLs. Whatever's going to get you through the night. So I'm going to clear out the box. So the only reason I put the word poop in the box is so then I could test my clearing out of the box. So there is the poop, and then I start to put something in the box and it clears it out. Okay. I could leave the poop in the box, or I could take the poop out of the box. I don't care. But when I give you the Word document and say, here are the things you need to do on Friday, if I have it clear out, that will be one of the last things I tell you to do, but it's easy. And you can move it up and make it something you do early and make sure you get those points. Okay. So now, back here, he wants me to loop through this word. I need to count through the letters in this word. Okay. So that's known as something called a substring. So now he has me Googling substring. I think I remember, but I'm going to have to look up the ASCII. So I'll just look up this as well. I want not a subscript, but a substring. When we have words that are called strings, and a substring means a part of a string, and I just said substring, but I want to say before that, every language will have a concept of substring. We want a JavaScript substring. And I always like the W3 schools. They're usually good to me. And so here is their example. Text, the text is hello world, and then the result is the text.substring 1 to 4, and then they say try it for yourself. And so that brings me over to this page, and it's 1, 4, and it gave me L. Okay. So starting at position 1, where positions start at 0, and then go to the, so let's try 1, 5. What does that do? Gives me more. What if I wanted the beginning? What do I need? 0. So it's going to start at 0. I'm going to go up to hello. Okay, that was. So but if I went 4, 5, it would give me the O. So in JavaScript, different languages treat the substring different ways, but in JavaScript, the substring has 2, we call them parameters, 2 parameters. And the first one is the position where we're going to start, and it starts at 0. And the second one is the first position we're not going to include. And so if we went from 4 to 3, it should say that makes no sense. I can't start at 4 and go to 3. And then it just gave me, is that an L or is that a 1? Did it give me something? It did give me something. I don't know. I didn't expect it to give me anything. All right, so there is, starting at position 4, 0, H is 0, E is 1, L is 2, second L is 3, the O is 4. So that's 4. The space is 5. The W is 7. So that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The W is 6. The O is 7. Because the 6, we're getting 4, 5, 6. So we're getting the O, the space, the W, and the 7 is the first thing we don't have. If you skip the second argument, if you just said 4, it would start at position 4 and give you all the rest. So it would say, oh, world. Or you click the wrong thing and it goes crazy. So if you have 2, it gives you, it starts at the position where you specified, remembering that the letters start with a position of 0. And then the second one is the first thing you don't want. So if we want one letter, we're going to want a number and then the very next number to get only one letter. That's what he wants. He wants letter by letter. So if I said 8, 9, that gives me one letter. So if I give you 2 consecutive numbers, I'm going to get one letter. All right. So he wants me to loop through the letters of the word. And so, you, as you know now, my favorite word is poop. So 1, 2, 3, 4 letters. And so I need something that's going to repeat 4 times. But if I'm accessing letters, I want to start at 0 because the letter counting starts at 0. So I want to make a for loop that starts at 0 and depends on the length of the word. I will need.
Because when you take the letter, you gotta do something about it.
We have to do something in the for loop. It's not going to be another for loop. That was, there's like a function that we can use. So, all right, but let's talk about the for loop. So here's my for loop. For loop, we did it Monday, we did it Tuesday. It has going to have 3 parts. Where to start, the condition under which to continue, and what we're going to increment by. So I'm going to use I, and so I'm going to say let I, and where do we want to start? 0. So we're starting counting at 0 because we saw that the first letter in hello world, the H, was a 0. So we want to start at 0. Now we want some condition under which we continue to count. So if I had my 4-letter word poop, then it's 0, 1, 2, 3. So if I have a 4-letter word, I want to go up to 3. So there is a thing where I can get the length of the word. Let's show that first. Let's make this loop a comment. And let's say I have my user text. And instead of alerting the user text, I'm going to alert the length of the user text. All right, so here we go. Here is my poop, and it's 4. If I said poop space, it would be 5. If I said poop, it would be 9, right? Okay, so I know how to get the length of the user's input. Now I'm going to make that the comment and take this, uncomment this. So we're starting our loop. Our loop starts at 0. I need the condition under which I'm going to continue to count. Help me. Under what condition of I should I continue counting to get through the letters of the word?
The text of length until the length -1.
But I don't know about until. I don't know what you mean by until. Tell me what to type here in my for loop. Let I equal 0, semicolon. That's not all I need, but that will be useful. So I'll type it. That's not a condition. That's part of the condition. What's the rest of the condition? What? That's the last part.
Oh,
Okay. So you're telling me the last part, but my condition, my middle part, my condition is not right. My condition should be on my counting.
It's user text is string. We have to convert it.
When I say dot length, it tells me the length of the word and gave me an integer. We saw that. So I have an integer that is the length of the word. That's not my problem. Get closer. I is less than or equal to. It is the condition under which we continue to count. So we are counting up, he says, until we count up until we get to the length minus 1. I could say, I'm going to copy this and put it above and then comment one of them out. Oh, I could say less than length. That also works. If I say less than or equal, then I'm getting up to that last one. And if I just say less than, I'm not getting to that last one. So if I say less than 4, my word poop was 4 letters, then I don't get up to 4, but I get up to 3. If I say less than or equal to length minus 1, I get up to 3. So either one of those works. Which one do you like? Which one should I comment out? That's what I should comment out. That's the one I should use. So you want me to comment that one out. Okay. So we're starting at 0. We're going less than the length of the word. And let's just put something on our page. Let's just put I on our page in our div. So that's document get element by ID text word. We've already established that, no, text word, that was wrong. Sorry. Why didn't you yell at me? Div result, it should be, right? You're supposed to yell at me when I'm stupid. Div result dot inner HTML. I want to keep adding to what I have. That's a plus equal. I'm going to put an I and I'm going to have a break. And then we'll do more. So I'm looping through. I'm starting at 0. I'm going up to, but not including the length of the word. I'm going up by 1s. And then I am going to, in my div, in my inner HTML of my div, right now, I'm just displaying the I. So it should just say, there's my poop, 0, 1, 2, 3. We started at 0, we went to 1, 2, 3, and we stopped. Okay. Now, let's say that you want to display the counter I, but you behind the scenes as a coder start at 0 because that's the way coders work. We usually start with 0. But for the user, your user is not a computer scientist, so maybe you want to display 1, 2, 3, 4. How can I do that?
I plus 1.
I plus 1 where? In the div results. So I can come here and maybe I'll throw some parentheses around it. And that will give me, when I'm displaying to the user, even though I, behind the scenes, am going 0, 1, 2, 3, for my user, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. My user's not a computer scientist. They're not used to counting from 0. There's poop. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, what do I want to do? Now I want to show, I'm going to take this plus, this line's getting too long for me. No, I did it wrong. I'm going to go after the plus. The plus at the end of the line that says to me, there's more coming. All right, so then the computer will understand that there's more coming and it really belongs on the same line. Okay, he wants the letter. So we have the I, maybe I'll put a period and a space in there. And now I want to put the letter. So I want to say 1, 2, 3, 4, P-O-O-P. So I want to see the letter. That's that substring thing. How did it work? The string dot substring parentheses and 2 numbers. So our word was user text. We were using the substring. And now you owe me 2 numbers. What numbers do you owe me here?
Which is 0, right?
Okay.
The second one would be, it's 0, 1. It's I and I plus 1. Oh.
It's I and I plus 1, because the first time in my loop, my first iteration, I want it to be 0, 1. Then in the second iteration, the second time to the loop, I want it to be 1, 2. And then I want it to be 3, 4. And then I want it to be, no, I screwed that up. 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4. There we go. All right. So, and that was I plus 1. Let's see what happened. So we're trying to exploit our counting variable I. And so, yes, the first time we were through, we wanted 0. But then the next time through, we didn't want 0. We wanted 1. And then the next time through, we wanted 2. And the next time through, we wanted 3. And the thing that's going 0, 1, 2, 3 is our counter I. And then because we wanted a single letter, blame him, he wanted a single letter. So then the other one was I plus 1. So here we go. It's poop. And there it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. P-O-O-P. Okay. That's not what he asked me to do. He asked me for the numbers that correspond to the letters. Okay. So now we're more Googling. The numbers, the simple word for the numbers is the ASCII, to get the ASCII value, to get the number. And they're saying this charCodeAt, that's what's popping up in my search. So here again is hello world, and then they're using this charCodeAt, and they are getting charCodeAt, and it's giving me the 72. What if I said A, B, C, D, E, F, G? And what if I said a 0? 0 is a 65. a 1, the B is a 66, okay. So now we're doing charCodeAt gets us the number that corresponds to the letters. Now let's do, the small letters are different. So the charCodeAt 1, we start at 0. So charCodeAt 1 is the second letter, which is an O, and that is a 111. Okay. So now we're using charCodeAt. This one's actually simpler to get, it's easier, bizarrely, it's easier to get the number corresponding to the letter than it is to get the letter. Because to get the letter, we had to use two things. We had to use I and I plus 1. To get just the letter, to get the number, all we needed was just the way the function was written, we only needed one thing. Okay. So, before my break, what do I want? I want maybe some dash or something like that. And you'll see with this color coding, then I go into the purple, into this orangey color and out of it, and in it and out of it. And here's where I want to put, what was it? User string, user text. And what was it? charCodeAt, right? Is that what we had? charCodeAt. And then in here is a number, and it's I. The first time we want it to be 0. The second time we want it to be 1. Then we want it to be 2. Then we want it to be 3. The thing that's going 0, 1, 2, 3 for us is the I. I saved it. I'm running it. So P is 112, O is 111. If I capitalized it, if the first P is capital, then that was 80. The capital letters are different numbers because they're different symbols. The charCode, okay. Everything in the computer is ones and zeros. And then we use, from ones and zeros, we can get bigger numbers. The same way we get bigger numbers in decimal, we have 10 digits. And then we can make bigger digits just by having them next to each other, having what we call positional weighting. So we start off with binary numbers, highs and lows, ones and zeros, and then we can get other numbers the same way we get other numbers in decimal, just by saying, oh, in decimal you say, oh, this is the tens place and this is the hundreds place. In binary you say this is the twos place, this is the fours place. So we have other numbers. And then when we want things other than numbers, we just have a correspondence. Oh, that number corresponds to letter A. That number corresponds to a question mark. And that's the way it is. So when we know that we're working with a string, I've got my word comes from a text input. Almost anything that comes off the web page starts life as a string. So I started off with a string. And so then I took a piece of a string, which is a letter, and then I said, what's the number that corresponds to that? And the computer knows that because that's how the computer thinks of these numbers in the first. They're not thinking of A, they are thinking of 65. And then you say like, oh, but that 65 is a letter. And then before they get over to the monitor to display it, they will convert it to the A. But in the computer's mind, it was always a 65. So that's easy for the computer. That's what's in the bowels of the computer is the 65.
Well, in a program standpoint, when would we ever have to do this?
When would you have to break a word down or to get the numbers corresponding to it? Or either or both or either. Okay.
Well, I understand like maybe like if you're going to a letter, but like vice versa, you want the barcode.
When might you want the car code? Okay. So you want to encrypt something. You have some text and you want to encrypt it so other people can't read it. Then you want to, encrypting is some mathematical operation that you can invert, that you can get back from. So you take your letters, turn them into numbers. The computer always thought they were numbers anyway. You take those numbers, you perform some math on them, whatever the hell it is, and get some other number, which corresponds to some other symbol. So that's at least one example of you want to have your text, but not have people be able to read it. And so we work with this correspondence. First, it's just how the computers work. Everything's really a number for them. But also we might want to understand the correspondence of letters to numbers if we were encrypting something.
Is it like more efficient when you're like transferring information that it converts it to a car code and then changes it back for the user?
The computer has to deal with it as a number. And so unless you have like the super uber geek who understands and gives the computer the numbers in the first place, then we're stuck with this translation from our keyboard to the number back to the display on our monitor back to a character. So we're stuck with that because the computer talks numbers and we don't always talk numbers. So not necessarily efficient. It's not a matter of efficiency. It's a matter of what the computer can do versus what we do. Anything else? Any other questions? I don't have any really other time, but if there's something you're asking me about this program. Okay. So I will stop recording.